Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Fiona at Drawings in a Drawer, and over here we mostly talk about everything watercolor, but mostly expressive portraiture. Today I'm talking about the monochromatic painting and how important it is. In this video you will see me start off monochromatic to then proceed to add some reds and blues. But let's talk about why painting monochromatic is such an important exercise, not only for beginners but also for intermediate artists and more advanced ones. Before we dive into that, here is a quick reminder for you that all my full-length and narrated tutorials can be found on my Patreon and that you can unlock them all by pledging to the $5 a month tier. In these, I walk you step by step in my process from beginning to end, and you will find the sketch outline to trace if drawing is a problem for you, and the reference photos as well with every single tutorial. You will find the link in the box down below. As you can see, I started off by painting in the darkest shadows with this violet, which is Claret by White Nights. I started off with a large brush, and doing that helps me to stay loose. Later I used a silver black velvet number 10 to go in with water and pull out the shadows towards the mid-tones. And as the paper gradually started to get drier, I then went in and deepened some of the shadows with a thicker mix of paint. I went into the crease of the eyelids, outlined the lower rim of the eye so I can use that later on as a focus point to catch a highlight, and of course then nostrils, lips and the chin area as well. So why is the monochromatic painting so important? Well, I think the biggest thing here is that when we paint monochromatic, we don't have that distraction of deciding which colour to use or how we can mix it. We only need to concentrate on the light and shadow. And when we do this, we realise that very often our paintings look flat because we haven't pushed our darkest shadows enough. So basically we are losing intensity and our pieces end up looking bidimensional. As you can see, after I'd laid down all the values with the violet and it was dry, I started adding the reds, and my favourites are Cadmium Red Light and Madder Lake Red Light by White Nights and Rose Doré by Winsor & Newton. I love this colour in these specific brands and I basically use them in every single painting. I'm not sure if I would love these colours in other brands. I don't think so, because at least not as much, because I've definitely tried Cadmium Red Light and Madder Lake in other brands, and I just like the duskiness that the White Nights offers, let's say. And when it comes to Rose Doré, I am not even sure that they make it in other brands. So Winsor & Newton is the only one I've come across, and it is the palest, most beautiful pink without having any white in it. So yeah, these are my go-to colours when it comes to reds, let's say. And when I lay them over the monochromatic foundation, I just find there is immediately so much more depth to the painting and everything comes alive so much faster than if I were painting directly onto the blank paper. I don't know exactly what it is about painting like this, but for some reason, even though I am not trying to be too precise or controlled, So I am still being expressive in my style, but sometimes it almost looks more polished, as if there were a filter of some sort over it. So I would really love it if you tried painting this way too, so starting off monochromatic and then laying some warm colours over it. And tagged me on Instagram at the handles Drawings in a Drawer. I will leave it down below as well. And I will be delighted to see all of your work and to put you in my stories over there. If you decide to paint monochromatic, which I totally advise, it's always important to think before you start which colour you're going to use and to test it and swatch it, of course, on a piece of watercolour paper. And that is because certain colours are extremely staining and difficult to lift. And when you pull them into the mid-tones, they can get pretty heavy pretty fast. And of course, it's really difficult to go back from that at that point. Claret is a colour that lifts very easily, violets usually are, but in the case of indigo or Payne's grey and neutral tint, sometimes they can be pretty dark and difficult to lift. For example, in my Patreon, I do have a monochromatic painting, which is 100% monochromatic, and I think we used indigo or Payne's grey for it, and we did have quite a hard time with it, even though the result was really pleasing. So test your paints before you start. You can tell from this footage that since I've added more of a variety of colours, so I'm using the reds that I mentioned earlier, you can tell that I am beginning to hesitate more with that brush. You can see me hover around with it, and that is because I was thinking about having one cheek with a warmer red and the other one with a cooler red. And I was beginning to think about all these different possibilities. And of course, it's much more of a direct experience, of a spontaneous, in a way, experience, because as I said, your mind gets distracted by all the different colours that you can use. And I always think it's a good idea to go with a darker shadow around the neck and around the face area. Where the hairline meets the skin of the face anyway, there usually is a shadow, and it really helps to frame the face. So I always do that, and around the neck area as well, as you can see me doing here. So you will see me going into the eyeball, darkening that up, adding some finishing touches. And if you watched my video about liquid watercolors last week, I just wanted to say that I figured out some ways that I can integrate them into my work, and I use them on the lip. They are so pigmented that they really help highlights stand out a lot on them, and it was something that I've been trying to achieve for quite a while now. So I think that is how I will be using them in the future. Again, if you haven't watched that video, you'll find it in my feed just before this one, and let me know what you think. Also, I went in and added a little bit of an element of a landscape at the bottom of the portrait. I just let drips turn into cypress trees in a very expressive manner. That is a beauty spot that actually exists in Tuscany in the Orcia Valley, and it's a place that's fond to my heart, and I just wanted to add that in there. So this is all from me for today, and I will see you next Friday. Thank you so much if you've been here till the end. If you are still here, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it if you would leave a comment down below. Just anything, a heart, an X, a paintbrush. That really helps me with the algorithm, and it helps to push this video out there so that more people can see it. And remember to tag me on Instagram if you paint this way. I can't wait to see your work. Bye for now.